Hi friends, in this episode, in today's complex world of compliances and governance, and with the constant changes in the law, I am covering what are the common errors in compliance of company law is being done by a normal family company. All listed companies have their company secretaries in-house, so they will not make mistakes or not expected to make mistakes. But a family company where there are two directors of the family, where the two shareholders of the family, and the business is run in a private limited company or limited company like a family organization, they normally do not hire a CA or CS for company law compliance. They expect as a part of their audit, everything will be done at the time of the year end, and who is going to ask them to produce records when the family, maybe husband wife, maybe father son, maybe brother sisters, two brothers are the only directors and shareholders. The problem arises when there is a dispute between the two directors, family disputes or any other sort of a dispute where the statutory records becomes a part of documentation to be produced as a witness in the court of law. One of such main discrepancy in the records are that out of the two directors or two shareholders, both are not present on the date of AGM in the same town, and AGM last date is, AGM stands for annual general meeting, which is a shareholders meeting for which the quorum is at least two shareholders in person, not through proxy, are required to be present. Then what happens? On 30th September, on 29th September, whatever is the date of AGM, minutes is drawn like a stereotype minutes where shown that both the shareholders are present. Fine. Nobody is there to tell them that one of the shareholders was overseas or one of the shareholders has a marked presence in some statutory things outside that state. But nobody bothers. So this is a very common error in drafting of the AGM minutes and signing of the AGM minutes in family owned companies, which as a director you should take care of it, or as a company secretary you should monitor it, or as an auditor you should tell your clients that this is very important to do it. Second such common error is that most of the companies keep a registered office which is a very non-prominent office just for the sake of registered office. In earlier days, it used to be the chartered accountant's office also for the sake of convenience. If any compliance notices come, then it will reach to the CA's office and he will deal with it. There was a purpose behind it, but that purpose has been now not right due to the changes in the company law. Now the company law says that all your books of accounts has to be maintained at the registered office. It means if your registered office is at chartered accountant's office, while you are a trading company, you are a functional office, you are a manufacturing company, you have a factory, your all books of accounts are maintained at your functional office or factory, which means you have not complied the law by not keeping your books of accounts at the registered office. And what does it make to comply? A simple resolution of the board of directors, and by filing a form within 7 days thereof to the company house that in the same state our books of accounts are being maintained at different address which is not the registered office address, and that's it. But as a common error, most of the companies are neither aware or even aware they do not pass the resolution. Maybe the professional advice is not given to them to doing the needful. If I say third common error is when every company is formed, they have to issue share certificates, and the share certificates are issued by just printing the share certificates by the printer or by the chartered accountant's office or within the office of the directors. Shares are issued under the signatures of 2 or 3 people, no issue. But what is forgotten is the stamp duty. Stamp duty is applicable in each state based on the Stamp Act. it's required to be stamped as a share certificate based on the Stamp Act. I am afraid to say that in 90% companies, I have not seen stamp duty being paid, which is a process driven cost. It is not any stamp paper, it is not any adhesive stamp to be put. One has to apply to the stamp collector. He passes an order. Based on the order, then you pay the stamp duty, and based on the stamp duty, you endorse the share certificate that stamp duty has been paid. When anything happens, the compounding cost of stamp duty not being paid could be very, very high. And when you are aware that the stamp duty is applicable, why you should not try to comply it. Similarly, when any shares are transferred or gifted within the family due to restructuring, due to any sale within the family, or within the dispute arising and restructuring of the family as such shares are transferred either as a gift or against a sale consideration. Now the sale consideration is decided as per the Income Tax Act, hence there is no ambiguity at what price the shares are being exchanged as gifted or exchanged as a sale price. But nobody puts stamp duty of 0.25% on the share transfer form as applicable on those share transfers. They feel it's a record of the company, it is not to be shown to anybody. Why it is to be shown to anybody or put an expense? Now the thing is, any buyer who has got the shares by way of the gift or by way of the transfer has to show that 0.25% expense as a stamp duty as a cost of purchase of the shares. If it is not there, that shows that he did not pay any stamp duty. Then how the companies got the share transferred? Though it's a very normal error, but sometimes it can be very big consequential in case of a dispute within the family where the company's valuations are very, very, very high. Similarly, under the new Companies Act with the all changes, 2 board meetings should not have a time difference of more than 120 days. Earlier, a company could have 4 board meetings in each calendar quarter, which means January, February, March can be 1, April, May, June can be 1. Indirectly, I can have one board meeting in January and the second board meeting in June, and still it will comply completely. Now it says I should have 4 board meetings, at least 120 days beyond the board meeting difference should not be there, which means in 4 months time I have to have a board meeting to cover the total time frame. Most of the time company secretaries or directors or anybody else may forget to add that part. Another important aspect is, earlier any absenting director, the simplest part was to give him a leave of absence, and that leave of absence was a standard clause in any minutes. Whether he came, whether he applied, whether he did anything or not, doesn't make a difference. Now in the new Companies Act, there is a clause which says, if a director does not come and attend even one board meeting in the entire year, so even if the leave of absence was granted to him, he would be deemed to have vacated the office of directorship. All directors need to be told about this, companies need to be told about this, because this is a common error which in any company is occurred. Friends, I have tried to cover some important and simple aspects of the common errors in the company law which is being done. There are plenty of more which if I start highlighting, this episode will become very large. I may try to come back as a phase 2 of this version, but at the same time I would request you to kindly go through the Act, the relevant provisions, and these simplified common errors could be avoided for the director's interest and in the interest of the company. Thanks.